Chapter 3. Acceptance. Acceptance. The Farmer's Story. There's a Taoist story of an old farmer who had worked his crops for many years. One day, his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit. "Such bad luck," they said sympathetically. "Maybe," the farmer replied. The next morning, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. "How wonderful!" the neighbors exclaimed. "Maybe," replied the old man. The following day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, was thrown, and broke his leg. The neighbors again came to offer their sympathy for what they called his misfortune. "Maybe," answered the farmer. The day after, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army. Seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out. "Maybe," said the farmer. The story underlines the importance of acceptance and non-attachment from events beyond our control. When transition happens in our lives, our initial reaction might be to focus solely on the negative aspects. In reality, we don't know what positive changes might also occur. That is the intrinsic nature of change. Overthinking and analyzing a situation that is beyond our control creates expectations that may not be met, which in turn leads to emotional tension. At a more evolved stage of acceptance, we are able to live with an attitude of surrender to life. Rather than judging the experience unfolding before us, we can simply live in a state of openness to what life brings. When we choose to recognize the positives, we are able to go with the flow of life and see the outcome, good or bad, as manageable. The Chinese proverb that says, "Do not push the river, it flows by itself," is what the ancients called the middle way. In this attitude of acceptance and surrender, we honor the paradox and polarity of life. We can live in the balance point between extremes by seeing and accepting both sides. We understand that it is not either or, right or wrong, good or bad. That is the middle way, a way of being in the world. We may not be at this advanced stage of acceptance, but we can practice staying in the middle way through our conflicts, both those within ourselves and with others. Be like the farmer who hears one opinion and is willing to give thought to the end results of both sides. What is radical acceptance? Radical acceptance is a Buddhist term, also used as a distress tolerance skill, which is part of dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, developed by Marsha Linehan. It says yes to the flow of life, whether pleasant or not, comprehensible or not. Lao Tzu said, "Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like." It is normal to experience a temporary fight or flight or adrenaline response when facing an undesirable situation. However, the more we grow in acceptance, the faster we let go of any negative emotions associated with it. We can accept rain on a day planned to visit the beach by letting go of emotional tension and finding another plan. When we face any challenging situation in life, our ego tends to play the victim. "This is unfair. Why me? Why now?" But it can be liberating to stop playing the victim and focus on what we can control. What remains in our control now is the replacement of negative emotions with love and acceptance. Each prevents bitterness, anger, sadness, and unhappiness. Steps to practice radical acceptance. According to Buddhist philosophy and DBT, there are 4 steps to the practice of radical acceptance. Notice that you are fighting reality. Be aware of your avoidance of reality. Turn your mind towards acceptance. Utilize your mental power to redirect yourself. Use your body and mind to help you. Choose the most useful technique. Act as if. If you cannot accept anything, act as if you can. Number 1. Notice that you are fighting reality. First, observe whether you question or dispute reality. To determine your outlook, consider the following questions. Do you feel bitterness or resentment towards life events or others? Do you think your life should be different? It should be like this instead. Do you regularly feel unhappy or frustrated with life? Do you think that if something changed, you would be happy? I'll be happy if I get another job, retire, graduate. Do you try to force others to change their behavior? Number 2. Turn your mind towards acceptance. You don't have to go from resistance to acceptance. Often, that's too big a leap. But you can make an internal commitment to stop fighting what is. To help turn your mind towards acceptance, remind yourself that unpleasant reality is just as it is and cannot be changed. This is what happened. Remind yourself that there are conditions for the reality outside your control. This is how it happened. Number 3. Use your body and mind to help you. Practice accepting with your whole self, mind, body, and spirit. Use accepting self-talk, relaxation techniques, breathing exercises, mindfulness, or imagery. It may be useful to use the following imagery techniques. Imagine sitting in a field watching your thoughts and emotions floating away on clouds. Picture yourself sitting near a stream, watching your thoughts and emotions drifting past on leaves. See your thoughts and emotions written in the sand, then watch the waves wash them away. Visualize your thoughts and emotions passing through one door that opens and closes. Exercise number 1. What is your most common relaxation technique? Let go of negative self-talk. You can train your mind to focus on anything. If you can concentrate on positive self-talk but have spent years being negative, you'll have to work extra hard to allow yourself time to overcome a strong belief system. If you frequently dwell on negative self-talk, you will likely experience overwhelming emotions more frequently than most. Exercise number 2. What are your most common negative and positive self-talk thoughts? People always hurt me. I can't trust anyone. I'm unlovable. There's something wrong with me. I'm broken. I'm an idiot. I can't do anything right. I'm a failure. I'm incompetent. No one's ever going to love me. No one cares about me. Everyone always leaves me. I'm going to be alone forever. I don't deserve to be happy, successful, or loved. Using positive self-talk. Remind yourself of your strength, your past successes, and your truths. Mistakes happen. Nobody's perfect. This situation won't last forever. This situation sucks, but it's only temporary. I'm strong, and I can deal with this. This too shall pass. It might pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass. I can be anxious and still deal with the situation. I'm strong enough to handle what's happening to me right now. This is an opportunity for me to learn how to cope with my fears. I've survived other situations like this before, and I'll survive this one too. My anxiety won't kill me. It just doesn't feel good right now. These are just my feelings, and eventually they'll go away. It's okay to feel sad or afraid sometimes. Use acceptance coping statements. I can't change what's already happened. It's no use fighting the past. Fighting the past only blinds me to my present. The present is the only moment I have control over. It's a waste of time to fight what has already occurred. This moment is exactly as it should be, given what's happened before. This moment is the result of a million other decisions. Make use of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Number 4. Act as if. Even if you're not able to radically accept, try acting as if. If you did radically accept things, what would you do differently? How might you feel? List all of the behaviors you would change if you accepted the facts. Rehearse in your mind what you would do if you accepted what seems unacceptable. Allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise within you. Then let go. List pros and cons if you find yourself resisting acceptance. Exercise number 3. What problems or situations should you work on accepting? Misconceptions of the meaning of acceptance. If I accept what happened, then I approve of it. Then I like it. Then I'm okay with it. Then I excuse the abuse. Then I absolve of all responsibility to the person who deeply hurt me. Then I allow the infidelity. Then I can't do anything about losing my job or losing my home. Then I resign myself to being miserable. Then I keep wallowing and suffering. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance does not mean we approve the new reality. Rather, acceptance acknowledges it. This means we accept the fact that the reality cannot be changed. Fighting it will only intensify our emotional reaction and create suffering. While pain in life is inevitable, suffering is optional. Suffering is what occurs when we refuse to accept loss or changes in our lives. The process of grieving is often described as having cycles. We usually pass from denial to anger to bargaining, then likely into depression, before eventually turning to acceptance. These stages are not static. Some people move through them in different order, and some do not experience every stage. The final stage of grief is acceptance. If a loved one passes away and we accept the passing, we focus on coping with the pain of grief. Refusal to accept grief will only create bitterness, anger, and resentment. This does not mean we support the loss, but that we accept that the reality cannot be changed. It is not passivity. Radical acceptance is not passivity. It is the willingness to radically accept reality as it is, and at the same time, make a commitment to grow and change. Only when we accept reality can we consider changing it. If we don't like something, we must first accept it the way it is, before trying to change it. Fighting reality with actions such as ranting, judging, and blaming the situation on others or ourselves will waste physical and emotional energy. Therefore, focus on problem solving. Okay, this exists. This is happening or happened. How do I want to handle it? Remember the 3 rules. If you have a problem, try to solve it or avoid it. If you can't avoid or solve it, accept it. And even if you can solve it or avoid it, always keep acceptance in the background. It isn't suppression or repression. Suppression and repression are defense mechanisms used as a way to handle feelings. When something is bothering you, you may consciously suppress or unconsciously repress the negative feelings associated with it. Suppression or repression, however, does not make the emotion disappear. It just sits inside, causing more pain. Eventually, the memory associated with this feeling will resurface, and you will unconsciously project it onto others. This way of handling feelings only causes physical, psychological, and social problems. Wise people say that if you don't like something on the outside, check it from the inside. Not a one-time thing. Radical acceptance is an ongoing process. In life, we constantly face unpleasant situations, meaning we will constantly have to learn how to accept things. If it is raining on a planned hiking day, we can accept it and move on. There is considerably greater pain, such as the loss of a loved one or dealing with chronic illness. It is normal to go in and out of acceptance, but after putting years into this practice, you will grow into acceptance more easily. A good way to mature in the path of acceptance is to start with small things. It may be as simple as accepting that driver beeping their horn at us, or another driver cutting us off on the highway. It is not forgiveness. Acceptance does not mean forgiveness, which extends positive intentions or emotions towards the offender. Work on acceptance first, then move into forgiveness. Accept reality as it is without holding negative feelings inside. It is not liking or disliking reality. Acceptance is not attachment or aversion. Rather, it is the middle way. Those with great wisdom say that whoever stays in the center will rise to the top. It is wise to learn how to let go of resistance and attachment to life experiences so that we can fully engage in life on its own terms. We can stay centered no matter what happens out there. No more clinging to or pushing away reality, because the source of love and happiness arises from within. The balance between I can and I cannot, I know and I don't know. Acceptance requires humility. When we fight against life, we assume to know better. It is worth recalling the farmer's story at this point. The truth is that we don't know everything. We experience only 0.01% of what is going on and miss the other 99.9%. We tend to look at life through tunnel vision. The data we perceive with our senses is limited and statistically insignificant. The real cause of problems is not life, but how our mind perceives life. We need humility to accept protoplasmic limitations, such as aging, disease, mortality, and genetic predisposition. Michael Singer has said, "Life unfolds based on forces mostly out of our control. As an embryo inside our mothers, we don't worry about food, oxygen, and blood supply. Development proceeded as it should after birth, and as our minds developed, we started wanting to control, change, and possess the things around us." Benefits of acceptance. Acceptance is increasingly studied for its effectiveness in mental and physical conditions. It was shown to be successful in decreasing stress, anxiety, and depression symptoms, as well as in pain reduction. Other studies showed the role of mindfulness and acceptance for the severity of psychotic symptoms, eating disorders, compulsive sexual behavior, addictive behaviors, suicidal ideation and self-harm, and other mental health problems. Acceptance allows one to experience the following: more emotional stability. Reactions are less intense and shorter in length. We all have mood swings, but the difficulty lies in their intensity and duration, along with our emotional reactions. When in a state of acceptance, there is less fight or flight response or sympathetic overstimulation. Therefore, less cortisol secretion and adrenaline release, which are not only the cause of emotion tension, but also chronic illnesses. More freedom and peace, less suffering. People often describe feeling lighter, relief, and more at peace. Acceptance is the path of freedom and peace, according to major religions. In Buddhist monasteries, it is advised that if the bell rings while sweeping the floor, stop to learn more about non-attachment and acceptance. It is also by accepting pain that suffering becomes more bearable. Jesus said, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." Luke chapter 9, verse 23. The cross is symbolic of surrender and acceptance in the face of pain. Inner transformation. Acceptance is the key to inner transformation. Psychologist Carl Rogers wrote, "It wasn't until I accepted myself just as I was that I was free to change." The ego can be transcended only if we accept it with compassionate understanding, not as an enemy to be attacked. We need to first recognize and accept our own limitations in order to change. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Carl Jung. Life lessons. Acceptance will help us see negative situations as learning opportunities. Anger stops us from seeing the reality of what is happening and impairs our ability to take the right action and learn from experience. Life is trying to help by surrounding us with people, places, and things that can stimulate growth. The world ceases to be a problem. Acceptance means being at peace with what is, knowing that whatever we experience, pleasant or not, it is a product of the creative power of our minds. We alone create our reality perspective, not the situation, another person, or an event. We need to change our state of mind in order to gradually stop projecting the problem as being out there. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. Rumi.